Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Fantastic Mr. Podcast, where myself, Jerome Kramers, and my two incredible co-hosts, Justin Strange and Zach Briggs, sit around and have an incredible conversation about movies.
Sweet. I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, today we're talking about cult classics and everything that entails on some of our favorite financial flops. All right, guys, so let's get into it. Cult classics. I'm going to ask you right off the bat, what is your favorite cult classic?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Is that a cult classic though? Did it make?
I would say it is. The comedy musical film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, according to the internet, which was adapted from Ronald Dahl's novel of the same name, only grossed 4 million against a budget of 3 million. And due to the poor performance, Paramount allowed the rights to the film to expire. Warner Brothers bought the rights
Bird.
for $500,000 and re-released it as a TV movie.
A TV movie?
Mm-hmm. And that's why I remember seeing it as a kid. My mother recalls as well seeing it on TV a lot growing up. And it's one of those movies I think a lot of people recognize the name, that a lot of people grew up reading the book about this eccentric Candyman inviting children to come into his factory of chocolate
Giggity.
through winning golden tickets and having these strange, eccentric moments during the entire trip. And I think the movie featuring Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, already kind of a interesting guy from his other performances. I think it was the perfect actor, but maybe the weirdness of the movie and some of the LSD trip type moments were kind of a turnoff for families.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
And I tell you what,
not really a kids film, as it was marketed, perhaps.
when I was a kid, that movie terrified me. And no one would believe me when I told them that a chicken got its head cut off. Everyone thought I was bugging out. And sure enough, I went back later, now we have internet and everything. I went back. I was like, was I going crazy, or did they actually cut off a freaking chicken?
And Jake, you're talking about the scene, the tunnel.
Yeah, there's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. The crazy eyes,
yeah,
just back and forth. Ooh,
yeah,
ooh.
and that whole little weird riddle song, it just crescendos into this Gene Wilder moment and the strobing lights on his face.
Yeah.
I love that moment, actually. And then you see
Did you watch it as a child, or did you watch it with the maturity as an adult?
As a child. I thought it was weird and disturbing. Yeah, I thought it was disturbing. The chicken, the worm on the dude, whatever that was. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was like a nightmare. That was the nightmare sequence of the movie. I don't get what the purpose was, really. I'd have to go back and watch it again.
To give little children nightmares? Like, how many children can we give nightmares at one time?
I think that scene was probably one of the big turnoffs for families. I think building up to the actual chocolate factory adventure, when all the kids and the parents get to finally getting to live this dream of sorts, this dream of chance, really, it just becomes gradually odd as you get to know Willy Wonka and even the audience, the people in the crowd behind the gate. I think this is like the first time, or it's been quite a while since anyone's seen what this guy looks like. And Gene Wilder and his, I wonder if there's any improv in this, but I feel like he's been known to be this.
Oh, I'm sure.
comedic dude and doing his own thing, but the way he's acting like he's a cripple with the cane and he does the somersault. I mean, that was wonderful.
That's the only one that I know of. I know for a fact that was Gene Wilder, and that was one of his stipulations to be Willy Wonka. You were probably going to share that, and I stole it from you. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know that fact.
Yeah, so the stipulations for him to play that character was that when he came out, that he wanted to have a cane, and that he was going to do the stop, drop, and roll thing and pop back up, because he said from that point on, you never have a reference of whether he's telling you the truth or not. And he becomes this kind of like ambiguous character that you can't read anymore. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he evil? Is he, is he just kind of off his rocker? And that was his stipulation to be the character, was to have that ambiguity, which I think played into his character very well.
And Justin, you said you had not recently, but like whether the past years saw the movie for the first time, or
So I didn't. The first time I ever. First of all, Zach, it's Roald Dahl, not Ronald Dahl.
Ronald?
It's Roald.
I was thinking of McDonald. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they're totally the same people. So the first time I ever saw anything Willy Wonka was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Johnny Depp. I saw it in theaters, and it was pretty cool. But I just recently watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory for the first time, probably a few months ago, because my friends and I would do a movie night every week, and we have certain stipulations, and I forgot what this stipulation was, but we chose Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I got to say, that movie was awesome. I freaking loved it. Every moment of it. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know. I probably would have enjoyed it as a kid, but I didn't really watch like that movie. Believe it or not, we had satellite, and satellite was a big deal back then. Believe it or not, I never came across that movie, like just flipping through channels ever.
Was it disturbing to watch at points? Did you find moments that were like very weird? Or
I think that's just like that era of movies. When did that movie come out?
71.
Okay, so I you got the 60s, 70s, 80s, like when they try to create these movies that are marketed for children, or if they, whatever, if it seems like it might be had been marketed for children, it's always like it's like just a weird movie that parents are like, this probably isn't for children. And that's kind of where I think Willy Wonka falls under. Like, if you tried to show this to a kid, I think you'd either have someone that really doesn't like it or a kid that really loves it. There's no like in between. You know what I mean?
Do you have a well-adjusted child, or do you have a little psycho?
Yeah, exactly. So if they're psycho, they probably enjoy it. If they're well-adjusted, they probably don't. And so, I found some. I don't really, to be honest with you, I can't think of anything that pops to my head right now, but I'm sure there were some scenes where I was like, holy crap,
I just love each character. Each child has their own personality and their own thing going for them. Like Veruca Salt's like the entitled girl with the rich father and is a pushover. And then you have Mike TV, I think he's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
who loves TV.
The cowboy kid.
Yeah, he's like being interviewed, and like he's still like watching his TVs with his TV dinner. And then you have Augustus Gloop, who's also one of my favorites. Then you have good old Charlie Bucket.
Augustus Gloop is the glutton kid, right?
He's the guy from Germany, isn't he? I think. Yeah.
Another fun fact regarding Grandpa Joe in that movie is if you actually stop and get a good shot of him, take a close look at his pinky fingers, and he has got the old cocaine pinky fingers going on. And all his nails are clipped except for both his pinkies that are long, and that's widely used to ease transition from the table to the nose. So that's another interesting. I don't know if that's a character. I don't know if that's a design choice or an actor choice.
Oh my goodness,
but it's pretty funny.
How'd you figure that out? My goodness.
I just paused the movie. You can see it.
I don't know the connection to drugs though.
Oh, well, I guess we run in different circles.
I just want to touch on the music of the movie. I mean, watching it for the first time, I wasn't expecting musical numbers to pop out, but I kind of like the tunes. I mean, there's certain ones that, like the theme, the one that Willy Wonka sings, it turns out to be a motif, something about wonderfulness. He sings it for the first time. Pure Imagination. Yeah. And that song's been done, has had covers in multiple forms, and
he was on,
or just use as lo-fi music. Like
it's been dramatized for modern commercials.
Yeah, I feel like it's had an effect on society and in the commercial world, especially. I mean, that a few of those notes, those do do do, those notes are heard in the trailer for the new Willy Wonka movie, where Timothy Chalamet is going to play a young Willy. So I was kind of like thrown aback a bit when I heard those notes. I know it's probably just a little nod to the 70s movie without having a direct connection. I don't think he's going to play a young.
Well, I think it's supposed to be
version.
I think it's supposed to be like a prequel to how he got the chocolate factory. So it's like, the motif isn't complete yet because he hasn't transcended.
I want to know how he got weird and crazy. And what was just one more question? What was the symbolization of the hat in the office and everything's half?
Oh, beats me.
Do you remember that though? Like everything, like the clock, his notepad.
I guess because he's half there. I don't know, man.
Let's see.
I thought that scene with the argument with Grandpa Joe was like the best acting sequence in the movie.
Yo, nothing.
Good day, sir.
Good day,
Charlie. But wait, psych, you win. I feel like South Park, it must have done mini skits on
Family Guy did one.
Thing.
Sure.
Family Guy had a whole episode where instead of Willy Wonka, it was Pawtucket Patriot, who it's a beer factory. And actually Futurama does the same thing with Slurm. What Slurm is like, it's kind of like a soda that is very like high in sugar, high in energy, and all this stuff. And they go to a Slurm factory, and it's just like the whole Willy Wonka thing. And then
Space Willy Wonka.
Family Guy did one with Pawtucket Pat, is what his name was, for the Pawtucket Patriot, which was a beer that Peter liked. So essentially, they put 5 golden scrolls in one beer across the world. And so like first half of the episode is Brian and Peter trying to get one of those scrolls. So they just like drinking until he finally wins one, and he goes in there and they get kicked out and all this stuff. It's pretty funny.
Well, let's
Willy Wonka's.
I want to keep this moving on.
Wonka's had a dramatic impact on, and just to sum it up, it's had a dramatic impact, I think, on future movies and TV. I mean, Drake and Josh has one episode where Josh is wearing a big old brown top hat and has a cane. And in comes Drake, and he's like fascinated. He's like obsessed with candy. So that's my movie of the night. See you,
Justin,
folks.
What is your cult classic?
Do you really want to know?
I'm questioning now.
The cult classic, of course, that came to my head. There actually have two. One that isn't as popular, probably one that you never heard of, that I just looked at. But there's one called, I don't know, The Human Centipede. Hey man, apparently it's gained a little bit of a cult following just because of how weird it is. I mean, I've seen each movie once, and that's probably as many times as I'll see them. But dang it, if I didn't buy the Blu-ray disc set, because it's just weird. And that's kind of I found a little article that was, it says, due to its disturbing and unique content, Human Centipede has gained a cult following. Search queries for Human Centipede picked up around the same time that movie clips were posted in September 2009. It peaked in May 2010 when it received a wider release. Centipede merchandise was made around this time. So I'm sure the following has died down a little bit. But of course, when it was first released, like people were like, "What the F is a Human Centipede?" And that's kind of what we did was, and I'm really just talking about the first movie. The first time I saw it was on Netflix. It was around the time Netflix started streaming stuff. and we were like, let's watch a bad movie. Let's just watch a movie that just looks bad. And lo and behold, The Human Centipede was on Netflix. So we watched it, and it was bad.
But what makes it so bad? Is the graphics, the story?
It's mainly
What makes it a classic?
I think it's just, I don't know about, maybe not a cult classic, more like just a small cult following. I don't think it'll ever be a cult classic.
There's never an intention for it to wow audiences for the box office.
I mean, I'm sure that's what,
or to make money, like lots of money. I mean, there's like those movies that they just pump out crap movies because they know people will watch it, but the intention isn't really to make it a box office success. So this fits the mold of that movie genre, I would guess.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's super weird, and I mean that's just it. Like it's a movie about a mad scientist who wants to create a human centipede by stitching
naked people
into
Butts
their
the
butts.
mouths the butts.
Yeah,
is there feces shown in this?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So they clean them up before they stitch them. All right, I see what they do.
So, yeah, I mean, the whole idea is that the front person eats real food, and then the back people eat feces, and so it's very disgusting. And it's actually South Park does a parody of it where the whole thing is about Kyle and not reading terms and conditions, and Cartman wanting to get an iPad, and so Cartman is trying to get this iPad, but his mom's like, no, they're too expensive. But then they make an iPad in which it's called the Human Cent iPad. And so it's just a human centipede with an iPad on the front. But Kyle keeps accepting all these terms and conditions without reading them, and he accidentally gets himself put into the centipede. And so it's very, very stupid. But, I mean, it's South Park. So the other movie I just saw, because I was looking on the Criterion Collection website, and they have like a little cult classics or cult movies section, and there's one called Fantastic Planet, which is an animated movie from 1970, I think it's 1972, 1971. It's a French movie, and it's very, very weird. And I bought it, the Criterion version, and I watched it 6 months ago or so for the first time.
The weird 70s again.
Yeah, that's why because last night I watched The Hobbit, which is a 1977 animated movie, and I was like, man, I really like 70s animation because it's just, I don't know, it has a certain charm to it where it's not like Disney animation, and it's not like, of course it's not like CGI now, or it's not even like traditional animation from the 90s. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like it's rotoscoped.
The Lord of the Rings movies animations were rotoscoped,
but some of them weren't.
Yeah, that was odd.
But some of them were. A lot. I think with the 70s, a lot of animation depended on rotoscope because it was probably easier. It's kind of like CGI almost, and so it's probably easier to do. So it just has that weird aesthetic to it. And so Fantastic Planet is the same. And it's just about these humans that land on this planet of these weird things, and they can get eaten. And but then one of them finds, like, one of the natives on the planet, I guess you would say, finds one of the humans and like keeps it as a pet and stuff. And so it's very weird.
I need to see that movie.
Yeah. And it's in French. And so it's, did you look it up?
No, I know about it. I just haven't had a chance to see it.
It's a very interesting movie. And but I like weird stuff. So
how was the music though?
You know what? I don't remember there being too much music.
Like really? An animation.
That seems like a movie that would lend itself to some incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again, I guess, because like I was watching the movie. So sometimes music can stand out. Like with Oppenheimer, the music stood out, but that's because like there was hardly ever a time where there wasn't music in Oppenheimer.
Or Studio Ghibli, if you want to stay in animation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with this movie, I don't remember too much of the soundtrack, but I guess that just means I have to watch it again. Too bad.
Probably, yeah. I mean, a lot of soundtracks for movies, especially 60s, 70s, 80s, it has that has that distinctive sound from that era.
Yeah, for sure.
Like even the Great Gatsby movie with Robert or
Leonardo
Mr.
DiCaprio.
Robert Redford,
Oh.
the 70s version.
Gotcha.
It had like 70s music in it. It was kind of off-putting.
Well, for mine,
I thought you had a third one, Justin, or was that you just
Nope.
you-
I mean,
oh.
I could. There are a few more I could talk about, but we can move on and we can talk
Citizen
about them
Kane?
later. No,
Huh,
Citizen
cult
Kane
classic.
is not Citizen Kane. I think is more regarded as a classic, not a
Yeah,
cult
it's
classic.
definitely considered a classic.
Yeah.
So, and this might be a good opportunity since we didn't do it at the very beginning.
Defining a cult classic?
It's to define a cult classic.
That could be up for debate too. I mean, there's so many people could argue this movie is not a cult classic, but if you go by the facts and the box office numbers, you could argue otherwise.
Yeah, and so it is. There is definitely some room to debate what someone defines a cult classic as. But for our purposes, we are defining a cult classic as a movie that when it came out was not received generally well. So either it did not receive critical acclaim or it did not receive, it didn't make its money back at box office or made very little. It basically came out and was kind of ignored and considered a bad movie at the time. But over the years, it's received kind of a word of mouth following of people groove, or maybe something happened to it that suddenly shot it into the limelight, and now it is considered a well-beloved film, even though when it came out, it was considered, either bad or indifferent at the time. So we're not talking about movies that are classics. Like, we're not talking about Star Wars. We're not talking about Citizen Kane. We're not talking about Chinatown or North by Northwest. Those are certifiable classics. They were popular when they came out.
They did well in the theater.
People appreciated them, and they've been classics the entire time.
Yeah, except the
We're talking about
prequels.
movies that have kind of grown into their state as a classic.
Okay, real quick, I just want to talk about that because I think with Citizen Kane, nobody paid attention to it when it first came out in 1941. It wasn't until like the 60s when people started paying attention to it. So could it be argued that around that time, 60s, maybe 70s, whatever, it was a cult classic that kind of drifted into
Then
the classic?
eventually evolved into
a
a permanent classic. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because I think that with Citizen Kane, the thing that makes it a classic, I don't think it's the story. I mean, the story's okay. I think
it's the techniques.
It's everything he did to make the movie is what made it a classic.
It's the technical proficiency that has made the story endure.
Yeah. So okay. I like that. Go ahead.
So anyway, so I'd agree with that. I think in the 60s it would be considered a cult classic, and now I think it's just considered a classic because it's become widely accepted that it should have been the whole time. My cult classic is Clue. 1985 American black comedy by Jonathan Lynn, who directed it. Co-written by John Landis and Deborah Hill. It's got a great cast lineup, of which includes Michael McKean, Christopher Lloyd, Tim Curry, and it's literally a movie of the board game. So this would also fall under another category. If we have like a games to movies category, this would fall under that because it's based off the board game Clue. And when it came out, it lost money. It lost $400,000, so it almost broke even, but it didn't quite make it. But it was real neat because, like, we're talking about Spider-Man, like Across the Spider-Verse, how they have like different little versions in the theaters. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. It's multiversal. Like, Clue did that. Clue did this way back in 1985. They made the movie with 3 separate endings and sent out the different endings to different theaters and didn't tell anybody. So there's actually 3 different versions of the ending that you can watch. And they released all 3 of them in the home release. So you could watch it, and then you can actually, like on the DVD, you can actually pick which ending you want to watch. But it's a great little film starring like Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, and some others. And it's a great film. At the time, it was, I think, honestly, I don't want to say highbrow because it's not a highbrow movie at all, but some of the creativity that they put into it, I think might have been a little much at the time. And now it's a great film. Now it's a loved film, and it has this great cult following where people get to like enjoy Tim Curry I personally think his finest. And Tim Curry's come out and said that it's probably one of the favorite movies that he played a part in, that he was involved in.
Kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show, which he was also in.
Yeah, it's very much it's not nearly as sexually
and they don't do it every year for Halloween. They don't reach.
Yeah,
because a lot of theaters will re-release that movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, and so I think in a lot of cases, Clue might even still be a little slept on.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider that's my cult classic, and if you haven't had a chance to see it, I highly recommend it.
I'll check it out. I've never
really great.
I've heard of it. Of course, it's based off a board game. I don't really care for the board game. Like I played it several times, and I just don't care for it.
I don't care for board games in general, except Trouble. That's an easy one.
God, Trouble. Well, that I just don't. I don't care for it.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I've seen Battlefield. I mean, that's another board game. Battleship, yeah.
Battlefield's a video game.
I mean,
there's probably I'm surprised there's probably not a Battlefield movie already, but
Battleship was just
that's just every single World War II movie. Zach.
Yeah,
I beg to differ.
You could take a World War II movie and stick Battlefield on it, and build. Nobody would know the difference.
Be a Battlefield, yeah.
Except for All Quiet on the Western Front, you can't do it.
But so I'm going to have a rundown of 20 films that are largely considered to be cult classics today.
Okay.
In no particular order. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, we talked about that one already. The Big Lebowski, The Clockwork Orange, Donnie Darko, Blade Runner, The Princess Bride, Fight Club, The Room. That's a big one. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
The Breakfast Club, Pulp Fiction, Pink Flamingos, Repo Man, Harold and Maude, This Is Spinal Tap, The Goonies, Labyrinth, Eraserhead, Office Space.
Yeah.
Heathers.
Man, Eraserhead. God, Jesus, that movie is so good. I freaking love that movie. Like, I watched it randomly because I wanted to watch a movie, and that movie is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to hype it up, but I like weird movies.
And there's even some movies that came out recently, which I would consider quickly becoming cult classics, such as The Cabin in the Woods or The Lobster.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I do know what it's about. And I would consider that. But
like when they originally came out, no one really paid attention to them. They have moderate box office performance, and now they're quickly growing this like niche audience, people who are obsessed with The Cabin in the Woods, or they are like obsessed with The Lobster because of how niche and interesting it is.
Did you say Dazed and Confused in that list?
I didn't, but I would consider that.
I'm looking at a different list, and it's 50. I'm not going to go through them all, but some of the notable ones, of course, the number one on this one is The Big Lebowski, which I guess would make sense. Have y'all seen The Big Lebowski?
No,
unfortunately.
Oh, geez, that's a good movie too. It's funny. I don't really care
I've seen Fargo, which that's another. I would consider that another cult classic.
Well, they made a TV show out of it too.
Yeah, but they made the TV show out of it because it was a cult classic. It didn't become a cult classic because of the TV show.
That's a Coen Brothers movie. These are both Coen Brothers movies, I think. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jeff Bridges in comedic roles, though. I like him as a dramatic actor.
Your opinion, man.
I know. So I said I'm not a big fan. Let's see. Dazed and Confused was on here at number 3. I thought that was great because we had that conversation about Dazed and Confused.
Remember we watched it? We did an episode about it, I think, right?
Yeah, we had that conversation about Dazed and Confused. That's what I meant by that. We did an episode about it. Donnie Darko, which I've had to watch a few times to understand what's going on.
That's Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Yeah, that's a movie you gotta watch several times.
I'm not a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal, but that's that is probably his best movie.
Well, there goes our future partnership with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Too bad. Monty Python's on here. Office Space is on here, which I thought was interesting, and I think that makes sense. Mike Judge is like, if you know who Mike Judge is, he did King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead, but he also did Office Space. And like his stuff is very like for it's like King of the Hill is hilarious, but it's very subtle hilarity. You know what I mean? It doesn't just hit you in the face. Beavis and Butthead, of course, is very stupid hilarious. Like comedy. So you have to appreciate that kind of comedy. Then you have Office Space. Have y'all seen Office Space?
I have not.
Okay, it's about this guy who works at in an office and he's very bored with his life until
He tries to get fired, right?
Yeah. Well, what happens is him and his girlfriend go to like a hypnotist, and he's hypnotized into not caring about anything ever in the world. Pretty much. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he's just hypnotized and not caring. And then the guy who's hypnotizing him has a heart attack and dies, so he never takes him out of the hypnosis. So the whole time, that's why he's like, I'm trying to get fired, and he never gets fired. He gets promoted and all this stuff. So it's a very funny movie. The Room, I think, is a big one, and we probably should talk about that.
One.
We're gonna have an episode.
I want an episode solely on The Room.
Yeah, we have an episode coming up on The Room, and it is, I think it's.
Oh, hi, Mark.
I gotta watch that movie then.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch it, but it's coming up. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, we have an episode that's going to be dedicated.
Which movie? Which year?
The Room, 2003.
All right.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Okay.
Nice doggy.
But yeah, this is like.
You're my favorite customer. Sorry, I'm going to stop now.
The Thing's on here. Jake, you like that movie?
Yes. Ooh, talk about a cult classic. That one's incredible. That was, I'd say, between The Conjuring and The Thing, those are my two biggest forays into horror, because as I've mentioned before, I'm a wuss. But I love The Thing. And The Thing is not like, I mean, I guess my definition is changed, because I would not consider it like a scary horror film. I consider it like a psychological horror film, which I love. But I've shown it to friends, and they're like, "This is awful. This is horrible. Oh my God." I'm like,
screw you.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's not really scary. It's like not like a jump scary. It's just
right.
Like
I can tell
dark brooding.
Just from the description on IMDb, it says a research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victim. So I mean,
you haven't seen it?
Just that? No, I haven't seen it.
We have to have I want to have a movie night and have you guys watch it.
Okay. Showgirls is on here, which I thought was kind of weird. I don't know if y'all have seen Showgirls, but it's not a good movie. It's got
that's the one. I haven't seen it. Is that the one with just the woman with the long leg on the cover?
Yeah, it's got Jessie from Saved by the Bell, Elizabeth Berkley, and she's basically trying to become a showgirl for Las Vegas, and she has to like do stuff and blah blah. I don't know. It came out, and I've seen it on TV, which is hilarious because a lot of it's got a lot of nudity in it. But on TV, it kind of does like what you said India did for Oppenheimer, Zach, where she covers her up with like a CGI bikini. It's really funny.
It's noticeable, I'm guessing.
That's another episode we should talk about is the
CGI
sanitization for TV.
Oh,
because I remember I watched like Step Brothers, and this is before AI, so I assume they brought in Will Ferrell and then back because they overdubbed like all the swear words and like these really stupid like PG-13 rated
swear words.
Like swear words.
Yeah,
it was really funny. I actually thought it was almost funnier than the rated R version because of just how stupid that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny when they do that. When they, instead of just bleep, I would rather them just bleep it out or just cut out the sound, but they try to replace it with like
family friendly.
Yeah,
Home Alone gibberish.
Yeah,
pretty sure. Let me see. The Big Lebowski has a funny one.
While you're researching that, and the 1989 Batman movie for TV, when Batman's flying in his Batwing, about to try to annihilate Joker and kill him, and then Joker says in the real version, "Come on, you son of a bitch." In the TV version, he says, "Son of a bat." It's horribly dubbed to say
stupid
bat.
Stuff like that,
and it's so stupid the way it sounds.
There's a quote in the Big Lebowski where John Goodman's like destroying this car, and he says, "You see what happens when you F a stranger in the ass," but in the censored version, it's, "You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps." Like,
makes
you're just sense. Like, it's like, well, they're just like, we got to cover it up, so it doesn't matter what you put. It's like
do bad something. Lip readings, like that channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Like bad lip reading.
Exactly what it is.
off the
It's-
TV.
So they got to try to fit the lips.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they could, I think it's something better. Interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently not. Okay, one movie that is on here that I really want to talk about that we're going to do a full length episode on. We'd already talked about it. Is Clerks. I don't know if you guys have seen Clerks before. Actually, I know you haven't because you told me. So Clerks is a cool story. It's one of those stories where like a guy makes a movie with all his money and then submits it to the Sundance Film Festival and gets distribution. With it, I don't think it did very well. But then people, of course, started liking it more, and now it's kind of like a cult classic. So, and he's made 3 of them, but the first one's in black and white, and it's so freaking good. And it's great because it's not, there's no real action in it. It's mainly through the dialogue because Kevin Smith is a freaking good writer, I think. And so yeah, we'll have a whole episode on that. So
Well, that leads me to a question. And this might lead into something else you want to talk about, Justin or Zach. This one might be for you. Why do you think that some cult classics were initially failures or underappreciated? And why do you think they found your audience? Like, what makes a cult classic find its
well, let's talk
status?
about the ultimate cult classic, which we just talked about. Well, there's 2, I think. Which Citizen Kane, right? He releases this movie. It's in black and white. It's about a journalist, his rise and fall, right? At the time, that's what it was about. But then it started gaining some traction in I think it, and I hope I'm not mistaken, around the 60s, started gaining some traction. And probably that's when it probably became a cult movie, cult classic. And then it transcended into a classic. So I think just having been the way that everything was done, as far as that, like people started noticing and started enjoying it because of that. And then you have movies like The Room, right? Which the only way I've seen that full movie is on CinemaSins. I don't know if you have seen CinemaSins, but it's a YouTube channel in which this guy points out everything that's wrong with the movie.
Yeah, I like that channel.
Yeah, and so with The Room, it's just one of those, and it's kind of like Sharknado too, right? Where it's just so bad it's good type situations.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what your question was. I hope I'm answering it. But
It was like, how do you think? Why do you think some of these movies were considered failures at the time, and why do you think they've gained their status?
So I think with Citizen Kane, it was just nobody was paying attention or cared about how he made the movie. They just saw this movie about a journalist, and it was also based on a real journalist, and I bet you there was some tension there. Orson Welles says it's not, but people argue that it's based on, I forget his name now, but he was a very large newspaper magnate.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm sure there was some tension there that made it to where, because I know that he had put in a paper or something don't go see Citizen Kane. Right. And so, and then you have The Room, which was just an awful movie. Now, if you've ever seen Disaster Artist, which is based off The Room, that's a good movie, but The Room is just wasn't good.
Oh, the Hearst Corporation.
Hearst, yeah.
Yes, I was thinking of Hearst. They also own TV stations.
Yeah.
So
William Hearst.
Yeah.
William Randolph Hearst, right?
Yes.
Now that it's all coming back to me. So yeah, he Orson Welles says he didn't base it off of him, but people argue that he did, and so I think that probably had something to do with him not doing very well when it first released, and then people were like, all right, let's forget about that. What about this movie is, let's take another look at it and realize that there was a lot of cool things that he did to be able to make that movie. And it just kind of shot to, this is what we're going to show. This is going to be like this, almost the standard movie you got to show in film school. You know what I mean? Almost always. I watched Citizen Kane the first time, probably in 2014 or something like that. And I was like, that movie was stupid. Why is this a classic? And I've talked about this before. And then I taught it, learned more about it, taught it, learned more about it more, and realized as a filmmaker, I got to appreciate this. Mm-hmm. You have to, if you care about movies at all, care about making movies, Citizen Kane is just one of those movies where it's this is something that you might not care for the story, but everything else about it is great. So
It seems like the academic part of it, introducing the movie to students, was a big part of it as well.
Well,
as you said.
The thing about introducing it to students is, yeah, some students might enjoy it the first time, but I bet you a lot of them won't, especially when you show it in like intro to film or film appreciation, especially because a lot of those students in film appreciation aren't there for filmmaking. You know, they're not trying, they're trying to get a credit. Now, intro to film might be a little bit of a different story where it's like, okay, they might be interested enough to go and say, well, what is the reason? Because whenever they showed us the movie the first time, we went into it without any context. Like we were talking about things and an intro to film, and it was just kind of like normal definitions and stuff. And then boom, Citizen Kane. So when I taught Citizen Kane, I was like, you know, this is Citizen Kane. This is everything that he did for the movie, and this is everything. And then we watched the movie. Of course, there were high schoolers, so they immediately thought the movie was boring. And I get it, freaking high schoolers. But you know, you gotta, with that movie, there's some work involved.
Yeah.
As far as like,
you got to explain why it's important and like what it.
I mean, that part about it sucks. But once you learn about it and once you understand, you know, the everything that goes into this movie, yeah, it's black and white, but it's like boom, and that's kind of how I feel with it. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
So that's like Citizen Kane. So we've got the one that you know, society caught up, and they were able to see the technological significance of it.
Sure.
And then there's movies that are bad and kind of people, it's so bad it's good.
In the
but
room
what about movies like, you know, what about movies like you know, The Cabin in the Woods or Fight Club or The Goonies? Like,
yeah, Fight Club, I saw that on this list too, and I thought that movie was popular, but I guess it wasn't when it first came out.
well, so like here's an interesting one. Another one that I keep for modern movies. So these are ones that came out in the past 10 years that are considered cult classics. So like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
God, I love that movie.
The Grand Budapest Hotel. John Wick, the original John Wick. Originally. So John Wick, its budget was 20 million. Yeah. And its opening weekend, it got 14. Once it went worldwide, it went better, and it had an ultimate payout gross of 86 million. When you think about, you know, the blockbusters and especially how, you know, the significance of like John Wick 4, how popular that was, it didn't have like the attention that I'm sure, you know, I think it was Lionsgate produced it. They didn't get the result that they wanted. It was enough for them to make a sequel, you know.
Well, you know,
but that was largely spread by almost word of mouth as well.
Yeah.
It seems like movies like that don't do good in the States, they bring them out worldwide, and that's where they make their money. Or they do weird stuff like so you have like Family Guy, right? I know this is a TV show, but Family Guy is getting canceled twice, right? And then brought back. And so they do things like the DVD release of Family Guy is what brought them back. So like things like that, and they almost made a sequel to 2017 Power Rangers movie because of the toy sales. So it seems it's just like things like that will like, you know, bring it overseas and see how it does there. If it does good, we can make a sequel. Or like I don't think Fox was thinking Family Guy was going to do good when they canceled the first time with the DVD sales. I'm sure it was unexpected, and so they were like, "Well, let's bring it back." And then it happened again. Let's bring it back again. And now look at them; they're at 20, almost 20 seasons, I think.
Jeez.
And then with Power Rangers, it didn't happen, of course. But
I was hoping for a sequel. I like that movie.
I did too, and I think you could even almost consider that a cult classic, but mainly with people who like Power Rangers. Like you can't just be a normal everyday Joe and be like, "Oh, I love that movie." I think it really hits with, and like with me, I loved that movie because I love the Power Rangers, and we've talked about Power Rangers before. So I would have loved a sequel, but you know, what are you gonna do?
They didn't make enough money, I guess.
No, they didn't. They didn't make as much money as they thought they were.
So let me ask you this question. Do you think a cult classic could be intentionally made? And if so, would that be a cult classic, or would that just be considered a blockbuster? You know?
So you're saying like, okay, I'm going to make a movie that's horrible. Let's hope for the best. I think it would still be a cult classic. Because like you said, a cult classic has to not make money initially, and then
As per our
and then
definition.
yeah. But a blockbuster, you have to have a great budget,
Mhm.
and you have to. I mean, it's going to make money. So I think even if you set out to be like, I want to make this movie, I want it to be a cult classic eventually, and then it's going to be if people like it, eventually it's going to be a cult classic. I think cult
So
classic
maybe
is the
do you
answer
think
to that.
do you think The Flash could be an example? Maybe I don't know. Maybe one day it'll be loved.
2023's Flash.
I think anything Zack Snyder has done as far as DC can be that, because like
Oh yeah, you have the Snyder cult.
yeah, I mean seriously,
but,
like
but that begs the question though.
That wasn't
If-
intentional though, is it?
but
Yeah,
exactly.
well-
I was going to say that. Yeah, it wasn't intentional for it to
Well,
be.
that and if hey, so like let's say Tarantino or Zack Snyder, like anything these guys make are going to immediately have some sort of following because of the
Who they are.
creator,
Mhm.
not because of the content of the film itself.
Well,
So
if-
should we then define that a cult classic has to be based off the merits of the film instead of the production surrounding it?
if it's done by a specific person, I guess like even when I saw some of these movies, I saw or not movies, these lists, I saw Wes Anderson movies on there, and for me, a Wes Anderson movie comes out, I'm going to see it. Now, Wes Anderson has picked up some traction over the last couple movies he's made.
That's very true.
Yeah, because like with Asteroid City, that theater was almost full, and I was like, "What the hell?" You know, like to me,
Look at these plebs
Why are
enjoying
people
Wes
sitting next to
Anderson.
me?
like
Why- Yeah.
I can't believe these guys are here. Posers, you know what I mean? That in retrospect, I need to be happy about it and be like, Wes Anderson's getting more traction here in Arkansas as opposed to, being in California where it's probably, crazy popular there. And to me, I thought, why are Wes Anderson movies on here? But then I thought, well, first of all, Rushmore was on there, which is kind of his first big movie past Bottle Rocket. And then also you said Grand Budapest Hotel. So like Wes Anderson, to me, if I see Wes Anderson, Jake, if you see Wes Anderson, you're automatically going to want to see it. That's just us. You know what I mean? That's
not the
group.
general audience.
Exactly. That's
It
not the
doesn't
general
apply to the
public.
general public.
Exactly. And that's kind of like, I don't remember. I keep forgetting what your questions are. And I'm sorry, but at least I'm staying on track. Like, I know I'm staying on track. I just can't remember what the question is. But for me, yeah, like if I see Wes Anderson, I'm going to go see it. But if Joe Schmo next door and I say, hey, man, I'm going to see the new Wes Anderson movie, who the heck is that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they see it, they're going to be like, well, that was weird because he's very stylistic.
It's very interesting. Yeah, Zach, what do you think? Can you intentionally make a cult classic?
I think so. Sharknado's an example, I think.
Well, I
That's a
think
great
Sharknado was intentionally made
the Meg movies as well.
to be good. I think they wanted the best out of that. Now,
Really?
yes. Yeah. I don't think they were thinking,
Looks like a joke to me.
we want to. Well, I think it might have been sort of like a parody on disaster movies, but I don't think they wanted it to be like horrible to where people are like, oh, this is so bad, it's good. But I mean,
Or
then
could
they
it
came-
be? Or could it be one of those scenarios of you go out to set out to make a movie that's so bad it's good?
But-
They intentionally incorporate those elements.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know the filmmakers, and it's very possible that was what they wanted to do. Now, I will say I've read something on The Room with what's his face Wiseau. I forget his first name. Tommy? Is it Tommy Wiseau?
Tommy Wiseau.
I promise you, I've looked up this stuff and I've researched it, but I'm getting old, and so
Tommy Wiseau, The Room.
okay. So he's gone on record to say that he did it on purpose, like he made the movie bad on purpose. But I don't think
I don't know
that
about
is
that.
what it. Yeah, like I don't
I
think
don't know
I
about
agree with him. Like it's very very possible that's what he did, but I don't think that's true. Like
I'm just watching the general like interviews and how like his vibe is in real life. I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah,
I think
but-
that's a way of saving face.
yeah, exactly. Like he's like, oh well, now this has got traction because it's so bad it's good. So I'm gonna act like that's what I set out to do. But like, dude, you hired actors, you wrote a script that you believed in, and you didn't rent the equipment. You bought all the equipment. Like
Mhm.
he bought all his equipment, and so like I don't know, just that doesn't seem to me like a person who goes out to try to make a bad movie in hopes that people like it. because
How
it's so
about
bad.
how about Batman and Robin '97? Joel Schumacher. Do you think he intended to make it
Yes.
like that with the comedy?
Yeah.
with the nipples.
It was a response to the vitriol of what Batman Returns.
Yeah. Because I know that Michael Keaton was set to play Batman again, but then for Batman Forever, not necessarily Batman and Robin, but
Yeah.
and then he found out because Schumacher did Batman Forever too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think with Batman Forever, with Schumacher, it was like he was trying to do something serious, and then he just went to Batman and Robin, which is like a clown show. You know what I mean? Like it has a certain charm to it with the aesthetics and stuff, and even some of the acting, like is horrible. You know what I mean? Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's like, and George Clooney, like I don't know, but there is a certain charm to it. That makes it like watchable for me. Like I could probably sit down and watch it again and be okay, but I don't know if I will anytime soon. I mean, I have them. I have all the Batman movies. I bought this cool set, Blu-ray set. It has all the Superman movies up to Superman Returns, and actually, I think Man of Steel might be on there too, and then all the Batman movies up through Schumacher's Batman. And so I have them. Of course, they're on or Max as well. Oh yeah,
About the Schumacher film.
yeah. I think they have a certain charm to them besides the nipples. And one thing I thought about
They have a certain charm for them besides the nipples.
besides the
made
nipples, they can.
I want
It made
that
a lot of
taken
money.
out of context. Is like put on Twitter.
Besides the nipples, they have a certain charm to them.
It made money though. I don't.
Well, yeah, because it's Batman.
And the merchandise.
Yeah, merchandise really helped, and I think that's why they got away from Tim Burton's Batman, because they were like, we want, because I think, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you sent this, Zach, or if I saw it on that that DC. By the way, there's a really good documentary on Max called DC. It's called Superpowered, the DC story. If you have, I think it just got on there, so it's really good. But they moved away from Tim Burton's Batman because they were losing merchandising partnerships like McDonald's and stuff. So they're like, that's why they kind of went with the more cartoony vibe as opposed to.
Thanks, Warner Brothers. Thinking about the money.
I mean, that's what they do, man. They're executives.
Well, that's like with Barbie. What was really got? I saw a post on Twitter somewhere, and I don't remember who it is.
Talking about Barbie the movie or Barbie the
movie?
Okay, yeah.
Barbie the movie, and it was like a tweet. So like, Barbie and Oppenheimer come out and they make billions of dollars, and the general audience is like, "Oh yeah, this makes sense. We want interesting original films," and then the execs are just like, "Oh, people must really love movies about toys," because they've already like the exec from Hasbro has already come out, and so they have plans for like a Hasbro verse with 14 movies based off of like different toys. Like that's what the audience wants for some reason.
That's what they got from one movie. Interesting.
Well,
That's what they got from one movie because Barbie did so well. They're just like, obviously the general public just love
okay,
children's
let me
toys.
throw something out there. I know we're not talking about this, and can I spoil something for you guys?
Sure.
Okay, so spoiler alert. I went and saw Rise of the Beast, Transformers Rise of the Beast, and it centers around this kid and humans and it's always humans and the robots working together. And it's actually a pretty good movie. But at the end, of course, this kid saves the world. The kid's like a nobody, and then he saves the world. That's the hero's journey right there.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, he thinks he's going in for a job interview for like security, but really what it is a specialized. I don't want to say they're part of the military because they're not, but they seem like it.
G.I. Joe.
I guess they would be a part of the military. And so they want to recruit him. And whenever they open this big door and it's got all these like ships and stuff you've never seen before. And the whole time I was thinking it was something else.
That's what it's leading up to, G.I. Joe.
But he flips over the business card that the guy gives him and he's like, G.I. Joe. And like, to me, I kind of, my head kind of like blown off. Yeah. I was like, holy crap. But does Hasbro own Barbie now?
I hate that so much. Yes, they do.
Okay, so I don't care to see Barbie in a G.I. Joe movie, right? But I'm okay with G.I. Joe and Transformers crossing over just to see what that would be like. I
I
think
don't think we need every universe. I don't think we
I'm
need
not.
No, we don't need
connections.
it.
We don't need it.
The issue is, and this might
We're
be another
obsessed
episode,
with
and I
things
apologize.
having to connect to everything.
Right, and I think that's what is kind of messing with like original concepts and stuff.
Yeah, which is why
can't-
everyone was so excited to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, because it wasn't some freaking multiversal connective sinew tissue of 20 other movies you have to see. It was like really great, sweetly written, self-contained movies. And that's
Right.
what people want. But Marvel did so well that everyone's got to have a verse now.
Well, even James Gunn, and we talked about this in the DC episode, was like he's coming to take over, and for some reason he feels he needs to do this interconnected universe. And I'm like, why do you feel like you need to do that? Like, why can't you just make DC movies, pump them out there, and we can watch them? Why does everybody have to meet each other? Now, of course, back then when Marvel started, I was all about it because that was all we had.
It's because DC failed the first time.
Yeah, now they're trying to recoup, and it's like, dude, just give us movies. That's all we want.
Just take the L.
Like, yeah, exactly. Just take the loss, man. Give us movies.
WB doesn't want that. They want to.
No, but it's all about
win.
Yeah,
but anyhow, okay.
Sorry,
one last question for you guys.
We
went off on a rant of our own particular interests. One last question for you guys. Do you think there are any movies today, let's say in the past, I'm going to say the past 10 years, to open it up a little bit, past 10 years, have there been any movies that you've seen or know of today that you think have strong potential to be a cult classic in the next 20, 30 years?
Yes. Cats. Live action version.
I would agree with that.
My man, I'm so proud of both of you.
Yeah, I would agree with that, only because the movie wasn't great, but that's probably why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it falls directly in the so bad it's good category. And it's not even so bad that it's good. It's just so bad that you can't look away.
Yeah, it's like a train wreck, It's like you're driving past and you're rubbernecking.
I don't think it was like a train wreck. It was more of a drug-infused experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Cats is kind of the big one, just because... I don't know, man. That movie sucked.
I don't do drugs, by the way. That's how I would equate it.
No, that definitely. I don't do drugs either, but I definitely like, man, if someone took LSD and watched this, holy cow!
Time of their life.
So I'm looking at a list called possible cult films of this decade, and it says 2010 to nothing, right? So 2010 to the future. The only movie on here that I could think that might fit that category that's on this list is a movie called It Follows. Have y'all seen it?
Oh yeah.
I think it might be a cult classic now, because I really enjoyed it and I thought it was weird. It's basically about this like thing that follows you, and the only way you can get rid of it is to have sex with somebody.
Dude, yeah,
it's almost like an STD.
It's a sexually transmitted poltergeist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Wow.
very STP. That's an oil. That's like some kind of car oil. But anyway, I watched that for the first time probably like 8 or 10 years ago, and it came out in 2014. So about what is that? 9 years ago? Yeah. Yeah. So it is an odd concept, and I think that's why it would be maybe a cult classic. I think Cats, man, I hate to agree with you on that, but I think
you love that movie. Don't deny it.
Dude. I mean, I think if I could probably watch it again and be like, and maybe find something to appreciate about it, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't really want to. Ooh, this movie's called Deathgasm.
What are some of the other movies that are on the list that we might know of?
There's not that many movies, so I'll just go through them. Drive, which has got Ryan Gosling. It's based off the video game, I think.
Is that really?
That's on the list of possible cult films of this
That's
decade.
not a cult. That's a very popular film.
I don't think it made very
From
much money.
2011?
Yeah, I don't think it made much money.
Really?
I don't know.
That's
man.
such
Look
a
it
good
up.
movie.
It grossed $35 million, so I don't know what the budget was. Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. That was a pretty good movie.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess. Spring Breakers with James Franco. That was an A24 movie, I think, wasn't
It
it?
had a budget of 15 million
Oh, so it made.
and it grossed 81. So I don't know. That sounds like a
Well, then
pretty good success to me. But
this
anyhow,
this list might not be very accurate. Spring Breakers, Cop Car. I've never heard of this, but it's got Kevin Bacon in it. Small town sheriff sets out to find the two kids who have taken his car on a joyride.
but
Yeah.
But Pig. Jake, did you talk about?
Oh, you know what?
that's-
Pig might be a
that's
good
very
one.
good potential.
That was a good movie. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Another movie called Victoria. Never heard of it either.
Annihilation, maybe.
I would love for Annihilation to be a cult classic, but I don't think it will.
I don't think it will be.
It doesn't have that
I don't think
interest.
I don't think it will. It doesn't have enough general attraction. It's a very heady film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very slow and it's a slow burn and it's a very cerebral,
It was a
intentional.
great film, though.
It's a beautiful film, pretty film.
The
I love
ending was like a trip, an LSD trip with the
Yeah, it's
mimicking
it's
of
an
aliens.
incredible film. It's just not. I don't know. It doesn't have enough.
There are two movies on
Yeah.
here that I would like to mention.
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse. That movie's crazy. Ex Machina's on here, which is a good movie.
I could see that
Mhm.
being a cult classic, but again, it's also, you could argue it's a slow, very even slower than Annihilation in terms of pacing and lots of moments of no dialogue.
Zach, you'll like this one. Her is on there.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
an
We should-
Oscar-nominated movie, though.
We should have an episode about her.
About who? Just kidding.
Joaquin. I love the style in that movie. His big old pants up to his chest. I mean, I love that
I tell you,
whole
Joaquin
visual
Phoenix.
aesthetic. And Scarlett Johansson, the voice of the AI.
By the way,
I wanted to cry during that movie at times when he got betrayed.
you should
in a way.
see Beau is Afraid. It's got Joaquin Phoenix in
Was
it as well.
afraid.
Beau is Afraid. It was a weird movie. It was the same guy who did Hereditary and all them. Midsummer.
Is that the one with the big old dick?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we talked about it. Yeah, with the dick monster.
Hmm.
God, that was so crazy. Anyway, I don't know
Suspiria?
if this list.
Suspiria.
It's accurate,
You think
but-
Suspiria?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh man, it's a supernatural horror film from 2018.
Oh, here it is.
Pretty much this girl
I like the
gets
movie
enrolled
poster.
into like a Germanic ballet troupe that's actually a coven of witches. Like the troupe is a coven of witches, and they use magic through dance. And it's a remake of a 1970s.
That
film,
sounds
which-
crazy. I want to watch it.
Yeah, which the
God, it's
1970s
2.5 hours.
Suspiria is. Oh man,
Ooh, 1970s.
is it from the
Suspiria.
70s?
Hang on, we're about to look it
Suspiria.
up.
Xperia.
Suspiria.
Suspiria.
Suspiria. 1977.
Yeah. And that movie's real cool because the whole, like all the set pieces and everything are bright. Like every scene has an overwhelming different color. So we'll go from like blues to pinks to reds to yellows, and it's very vivid. The modern Suspiria is very subdued in that manner. It's very realistic, but they do magic through dance, and so they control, and that's how they do their magic. And so it's kind of a psychological, supernatural horror. And it didn't make very much, I don't think. I think it only made like 180,000 its opening weekend, something like that. I don't even know what their budget was, but it's a beautifully shot film, so I imagine it's more than that. Oh, here we go. Budget was 20 million. Box office, it only made 8 million. So definitely,
Wowza! Golly!
definitely. A
No wonder I've
critical
never
failure,
heard of
but
it.
but it's a beautiful
Woo!
film. It's such an interesting film. I think that has
It does look pretty neat.
that has a high potential.
I
And
think
there's
they.
oh man, the climax of it's
Ooh, I like the 70s Blu-ray version. Not the Blu-ray version, but the Blu-ray cover art looks cool.
Mhm.
I like the 70s version looks cool.
Yeah, they're both really neat.
Speaking of weird movies that have really pretty colors, my film appreciation teacher suggested a movie that was weird. It's called Beyond the Black Rainbow. If you guys have ever seen it,
Never heard of
from
it.
2010. It's a weird movie. I think it might have either it has one now or will become one. Despite being under heavy sedation, a young woman tries to make her way out of the Arborea Institute, a secluded quasi-futuristic commune. It has some very 70s type vibe to it. But it was 2010. I need to rewatch this movie.
Interesting.
So-
Well, all right, do you guys have any last words on the subject? I think we all agree that Cats probably has the
Most
best
potential.
potential to be
Yeah,
become a cult classic.
unfortunately, God. I just,
Yeah. I'd agree.
the movie
Cats is up there
was,
for me.
let me tell you something about that movie real quick, is the movie was very gorgeous. Like, it was a great looking movie.
Uh-huh.
It was
but-
clean, very clean.
Yeah, I just,
In terms of set
everything-
pieces.
everything else, like,
If they just got rid of those cat people, it'd be a beautiful
well, I was
film.
gonna say a bunch of cats walking around on two legs with human hands, and
Smiling with big old teeth.
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I think just because of that and some of the other things about the music and all that stuff, Rebel Wilson in the movie, which I thought was a weird addition. Like, yeah, I thought it was weirder than Idris Elba, which
I was surprised Ian McKellen.
I forgot he was in that movie. Yeah, I forgot he was in
A
that.
lot of big names.
Yeah,
A lot of that was surprised. That was another reason that was so surprising. Is
I mean,
so many
honestly,
big names.
I think eventually I'll probably end up getting the movie, owning it on Blu-ray or something. Just
Gonna take a
because it's
picture of
weird.
that.
Yeah, I'll take. I'll when I do,
A special
if I
moment
do,
for Jake.
I'll let you know. But yeah, I think I would agree that Cats probably has the best potential of becoming a cult classic that was recently released. When was that released again?
Oh, a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Not that long ago.
2021. I didn't think it was that long ago. So yeah, I mean, I like the idea of cult movies because 9 times out of 10 they're weird. And me, the weirder and the more disturbing, the better. And I think weird and disturbing are 2 separate categories, by the way.
That's true. I would agree with that.
Because Fantastic Planet, which is animated, is weird, whereas Human Centipede is disturbing. So, so I think both of those categories can fall into the eventual cult movie, cult classic. And so that's why, and like even movies like Eraserhead, I think it kind of that movie kind of goes into both categories. Like what is it called? A Venn diagram. If you had weird and disturbing, Eraserhead would be in the middle, I think. And so I think that's what makes a movie a cult classic is they're like, oh, I don't want to watch this movie because it looks weird. It's like, dude, go watch it. You might actually enjoy it. But anyway, that's me getting on a soapbox, so I don't want to do that.
And you should watch 1984's Threads, which is developed into a cult classic.
Okay, so Zach, we have an episode about Threads, so don't you worry, buddy. We're gonna watch it.
Cult film and review Threads.
It's
Someone
more
has done a podcast on it. I looked on
It's
the
more
internet.
like the episode we're gonna do is post-apocalyptic movies, and one of them is the movie that you want us to watch.
It's on YouTube and it's free.
Okay. So yeah,
The freaking trailer title is called Cult Classic Trailer Threads.
I think
There's a disturbing bit where an ET looking humanoid is being burned.
I love ET looking humanoids.
They didn't mean to make it.
That's what
It literally is an ET being, but they're trying to put it in place of like a human. But people thought we wouldn't notice.
In Eraserhead, they have a baby. The main character has a baby with a woman, and the baby is very weird looking. And now that you mention it, he is kind of ET-ish looking.
Maybe that's an Easter egg then.
Well, because Eraserhead came out in. You're talking about with Threads? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, but you're talking about the Eraserhead,
Yeah,
the baby.
Eraserhead
Okay.
came out in the 60s. I think.
Maybe he was
Anyway.
predicting the future. Who knows?
So yeah, I like the idea, and I really like any movie that can be considered a cult classic or cult movie because chances are they go against the grain, if you will, and so that's what I like. I mean, I'll watch a blockbuster any day, and I'll watch something super action heavy like Transformers and stuff like that. But give me a cult classic.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League was a successful cult classic, I think. Has developed one quickly.
I think with Zack Snyder, with his DC stuff, and I just said this, I know, but
it took the drama of Justice League 1 to catapult him into a cult classic realm, I think.
Justice League 1. Do you mean like Joss Whedon's Justice League?
Yeah, it
I
took
like
the
that you call
drama.
it Justice League 1 like Zack Snyder's is a sequel.
I didn't. I don't think I said one. Maybe I
You
did.
did say
but I said-
one.
He did.
But Justice League, the one that was torn to bits by Joss Whedon after
Yeah.
the death of Zack Snyder's daughter, I believe. I think that sadly, but in a way, helped
I thought
Snyder's
so.
brand.
Yeah. So his daughter died, or did we?
Yeah, she
know?
killed herself.
Oh, maybe that. Do you think that's
I
why
think.
DC let him
I don't
come back
know.
and do a director's cut?
I have no
Maybe.
clue, but
I think also it helps that there was a huge, hashtag following, whatever they call that. And David Ayer is supposed to bring out a Suicide Squad cut.
James Gunn has so many promises. I'm going to believe everything once 2025 hits. I think Gunn's promising too much, to be honest. And I don't appreciate how he's like coming out and responding to every Threads or Twitter or X post asking him what's going on, because people are just going to copy and paste and screenshot what he says.
Be like, this is what
today.
you said.
Yeah, 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I mean, I'll wait till 2025.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, sorry.
That'd be
Go
cool to
ahead.
see. It would be cool to see the Ayer cut. I would love to see that, though.
Yeah, me too.
Well, all right. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Fantastic Mr. Podcast. Have you seen any cult classics? What do you think qualifies as one? We want to hear from you. Let us know. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook,
X.
Instagram, and do us a huge favor and give us a like and follow on whatever program you decide to listen to us
Yeah,
on.
X too. Remember X, formerly
Yeah, we're
Twitter.
on-
folks?
We're on X now. I guess Twitter's not a thing anymore. Whoopsies.
We still tweet though. We still tweet stuff
until
until someone
Musk
comes up with a different
rebrands
name.
it to something. I still throw my hat in the ring for explain, but that's just me. Anyhow,
So yeah,
let us know what you think. We want to hear from you, and
and make sure to
Thanks
check
for
us
listening.
out. Make sure to check us out on any pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube are the big ones. So please check us out and hit us up if you have any ideas for episodes, or if you just want to talk about cult movies. Totally down for that. So make sure to have a fantastic day. Is that what you're going to say, Jake?
you took the words from my mouth.
Go ahead and say it. I'll edit it out.
Have a fantastic day.
All right. Bye.